The sound of the wheelchair hitting the curb echoed along Vazia Street as a warning shot. Maya Reyes, 16, felt the impact on his column while the school backpack flew from his lap, spreading notebooks and pens through Seattle wet asphalt. "Oops, sorry, wheelchair," mocked Derek, the trio leader, while his cronies exploded in laughs. "I didn't see you down there." It was 4:30 p.m. on a common Tuesday in the Georgetown neighborhood when three men in their early 20s decided to turn the way back from Maya's school into a cruelty spectacle that would record for their social networks. Maya was only 16 years old and never imagined that her routine path of Garfield High School until the family's small convenience store would turn into the worst nightmare she had ever lived. Born in Manila and coming to the United States at age 5, she had grown up listening to her grandfather's stories about respecting everyone, regardless of her differences. Now, with her face burning with humiliation and tremendous hands with anger, she felt the weight of every racist word that was about to hear. "Hey, you see, even the wheelchairs are coming from China now," shouted Marcus, the second man, causing hysterical laughs of the other two. "Or would it be the Philippines? I don't know, it's all the same." Tyler's cell phone was already erected, recording everything. "This is gonna pump on TikTok, bro. Cherokee Brada y'all Asian fails." Maya took a deep breath, closed her eyes for 3 seconds, just as her grandfather had taught when she was 7 and had suffered the first episode of bullying at school. "It tells up to 3, my granddaughter, who responds angrily, has lost the battle before she started. Please leave me alone," she said, trying to keep her voice firmly as she dangerously leaned out of the chair to reach her spread. "I just want to go home." Derek approached, purposely stepping on his mathematics notebook. "Home? Do you mean for that stinky store of weird food? Man, the smell of that place contaminates the whole street." What they didn't know was that just 2 blocks from the small convenience store Reyes and Sounds that the family managed for 15 years, a 72-year-old man had just received a notification on his cell phone. The GPS tracking system that he had discreetly installed in Maya's chair 3 months ago, after she had casually feeling observed on the path of school, had just triggered a prolonged sudden movement alert. Lito Reyes, a decorated veteran of the Vietnam War with 50 years of experience in Philippine martial arts, was not just a protective grandfather. He was a man who had sworn, the day he first held Maya in his arms at the hospital after the accident that had paralyzed his legs at age 4, which no evil would ever touch his granddaughter while he still breathed. He looked at the phone screen, saw Maya's exact location, and the duration of the stop, 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Too much time to be coincidence. Enough time for something to be very, very wrong. "Jamie," called his wife, who organized products on the shelves. "Take care of the store. I need to search Maya." The tone of voice made Jamie stop immediately. In 45 years of marriage, she knew that tone. "Lito, what happened?" "I don't know yet," he replied, already taking the keys from the car and something more, an old bamboo staff he had kept behind the counter since 1985, "but I'm about to find out." Meanwhile, on the street, the situation degenerated quickly. Marcus had taken Maya's backpack and began to play it among the 3 men as if it were a ball, each throw accompanied by increasingly heavy racist comments. "Hey, there's a cell phone here, I bet it's fake. Just like everything that comes from that country of your country," shouted Tyler, shaking Maya's iPhone above her head. "Please return." Maya felt tears start burning her eyes, but refused to drop them. "I would not give them this satisfaction. There is all my schoolwork there." "Schoolworks?" Derek bent down, staying at her eye level, her fetid breath of cheap beer invading Maya's personal space. "Let me guess. All copied, right? That's how you do it, isn't it?" It was then that Tyler noticed something. "Dude, look at this on her cell phone. It has a contact saved like Grandpa Lito in case of emergency. How cute." He made a mocking child voice. "Will she call Vovozinho?" "Do that, go," teased Marcus. "I bet the old man doesn't even speak English right. It will probably get here with a bamboo hat offering spring roll." The 3 of them burst out laughing as Tyler began to dial the number, putting on the Vivi for everyone to hear the joke. The phone rang once, twice. "Hello?" The voice he answered was calm, controlled, with a slight Filipino accent that carried something that the 3 men could not immediately identify. It was not fear, it was not confusion, it was something much more dangerous, absolute certainty. "Hi, Grandma," Tyler spoke in a mocking tone. "Your granddaughter here is having a little problem. You know, she kind of fell from the chair. Like, literally." More laughs. "Where are they?" The voice on the other end of the line did not change. Not at all. "Oh, it's in a hurry, old man. Relax. She's well cared for here. We're on the corner of South Michigan with Airport Way, right in front of that abandoned store." "Why, going the police?" "Good luck with it, man. My cousin is a police officer." "I won't send the police," Lito replied, and for the first time, there was something different in his voice, something that made Derek stop laughing for a second. I'll be there in 90 seconds, and when I arrive, you will want to have called the police." The call was closed. Tyler kept his cell phone, trying to force a laugh. "Dude, the old man is pistol. 90 seconds? He lives the type. 2 blocks from here. Impossible. Relax." Derek hit his shoulder. "It's an old Philippine. What will he do? Give us a beating with a bamboo stick?" Marcus still laughed when the sound of an engine accelerating began to echo down the street. Maya, who had been silent since the call, finally raised her face, and for the first time since the beginning of torture, a small smile appeared on his swollen lips to bite so as not to cry. "You have no idea what you have just done," she whispered. The noise of the engine got louder, closer. Derek turned, frowning. "What the hell is this?" Across the street, a 1995 gray Toyota Corolla turned the corner at speed that certainly violated all local boundaries. It stopped with a cracked creens at exactly 15 meters away. The door opened, and Lito Reyes got out of the car. If you are feeling that anger growing in your chest, subscribe to the channel now, because what is about to happen will show that there is a type of justice that does not need court, just a grandfather who has vowed to protect his granddaughter at any cost, and that is about to fulfill this promise in a way that these 3 idiots will never forget. Lito Reyes was 1.68 meters tall and weighed perhaps 68 pounds wet. Her gray hair was tied into a small ponytail, and her calloused hands held that bamboo stick with a familiarity that came from decades of practice. In the eyes of Derek, Marcus, and Tyler, he was just a Philippine old immigrant who probably barely speaking English. "Serious?" Derek exploded in laughs. "Is that the big reinforcement? Dude, I thought it was going to appear like, I don't know, the police or something." Tyler was still recording everything. "This will be even better. Old Asian trying to play the hero. The views will explode." Lito walked slowly toward the group, his calm and measured steps. It stopped exactly 3 meters away, a distance that, for those who understood combat, was perfectly calculated. But for the 3 men, he was just an old man maintaining a respectful distance of fear. "Maya," he said in Tagalog, without taking his eyes off the 3 men. "Are you hurt?" "No, Grandpa, just scared." Her voice was firmer. I knew that tone. I knew that posture. Hey. Marcus approached, invading Lito's personal space. "Speak English here, old man. This is our country." Lito took a deep breath, and something changed in his eyes, something that made Marcus step back instinctively. "I was in this country before your parents were born, boy," answered Lito in perfect English with no accent. "I served in Vietnam for 3 shifts. I was awarded twice, and I learned a lot about respect, something that clearly no one taught you." "Ooh, the old man is patriot," Derek mocked, but there was a note of nervousness in his voice. "Look, man, we were just playing with his granddaughter. Unintentionally, did it?" "Playing." Lito repeated the word as if proving something bitter. "You knocked down my wheelchair granddaughter, destroyed your belongings, made racist comments, and recorded everything to post on the internet, and they call it a joke." Tyler was still holding Maya's cell phone. "Look, Uncle, you're taking it very seriously. We'll return our cell phone and—" "No," Lito interrupted. "You won't just return your phone. You will kneel and apologize to my granddaughter. They will delete this video, and then they will wait here as I call the police." The silence that followed lasted maybe 3 seconds. Then Derek laughed. "You're crazy, old. We won't do any of this. And you know one thing? I think I'll post this video. In fact," he turned to Tyler, "you're recording it too, right? Because it's getting hilarious." That's when Lito took the first step ahead. Marcus, MAIOR of the 3 at 185 and easily 95 pounds, put his hand on the litho chest. "Hey there, Grandpa. It doesn't do anything stupid." What happened in the next 2 seconds was so fast that Tyler almost dropped his cell phone. Lito moved at a speed that should not be possible for someone of 72 years. His left hand captured Marcus's wrist with surgical precision, his fingers finding exactly the correct pressure point. Marcus shouted in pain as his legs folded involuntarily. With a fluid movement, Lito turned the bamboo stick, not beating anyone, just showing absolute control. And Marcus was on his knees on the floor, his arm twisted at an angle that caused excruciating pain, but no permanent damage. 3 seconds, from beginning to end. "What the hell?" Derek began, but his voice failed. "Kaylee Filipino," said Lito calmly, still holding Marcus on the floor with a single hand. 50 years of training. Do you think a 72-year-old war veteran doesn't know how to defend yourself?" Tyler finally stopped recording his pale face. "Dude, man, calm down. We didn't know. Let him." "They didn't know what?" Lito's voice was dangerously calm. "Didn't you know I was a veteran? Didn't you know that I trained in martial arts all my life? Or did you not know that older people also deserve respect?" Marcus was crying now, genuinely terrified. "Please hurt, please." Lito released him, and Marcus fell to the floor holding his wrist. Derek, trying to recover some dignity, drew his cell phone. Okay. Do you want to play hard? I'll call my lawyer right now. This was aggression. We have witnesses. Witnesses? Lito smiled without humor. Do you want to talk about witnesses? He pointed to the corner of the street. That hardware store security camera. That other at the entrance of the parking lot. And, he pointed to a van parked across the street. That vehicle there belongs to my son-in-law, who is a professional cameraman. He has filmed everything since you knocked out Maya from the chair. The three men turned to look at Van. The side door was ajar, and a professional camera mounted on a tripod was clearly visible. Oh, and Tyler? Lito continued. That video you recorded on Maya's cell phone, what was configured to make automatic backup to the cloud? I already have a copy, just as I have copies of everything you posted on social networks in the last 6 months. Derek paled. Like you. Because you are not exactly discreet, Lito interrupted. Derek Johnson, 24, lives at 156 NE 58th Street. You work at the Amazon deposit, but it owes 3 months of alimony. Marcus Williams, 23, has been arrested twice by assault and has a restriction order from the ex-girlfriend. Tyler Chen, Lito looked directly at him. Ironic, aren't you? Tyler dropped Maya's cell phone on the floor. How do you know all this? Marcus managed to ask, still on the floor. Because when Maya mentioned 3 months ago that she was feeling observed on the path of school, I did not ignore. Lito turned to look at his granddaughter proudly. I installed a GPS in her chair. I reviewed the routes, I identified standards, and yes, I found that you have done it with at least 4 other girls in recent weeks. They hadn't been stupid enough to physically assault no one to this day. The silence was now absolute, broken only by the sound of an engine approaching. A Seattle police car turned around the corner. Oh yes, Lito said casually. I called the police when I saw the GPS alert. They must have taken more time because I specifically asked the officer Chen, an old family friend. She has a particular interest in cases of violence against people with disabilities. The vehicle stopped behind Lito's Corolla, and an approximately 40-year-old Asian officer left the vehicle. Mr. Reyes, she greeted with a nod. I received your warning. I see that the situation is under control. Perfectly under control, Official Chen. These 3 young people have some accusations to answer. Aggression to disabled people, theft, threats, hate crime for racial motivation. Wait, Derek finally found his voice. We didn't do anything so serious. It was just a joke that got out of control. A joke, Officer Chen repeated, looking at Maya still sitting in her chair, with dirty clothes and dried tears on her face. A joke that involves overthrowing a minor age, old, destroying your belongings and making racist comments. Interesting mood definition. Tyler stepped forward, desperate. Look, my cousin is a police officer. He can explain that he was a misunderstanding. Would your cousin be Official Davis? Chen asked, checking something on his table tea. The one who is currently under internal investigation for excessive use of strength? Good luck with this reference. Marcus tried to get up, but his wrist still hurt too much. Can we pay a fine or something, like compensate? Lito laughed, but there was no joy in that sound. Do you think this resolves with money? You humiliated my granddaughter publicly, threatened to post on the internet to earn views, and when confronted they tried to attack a 72-year-old man. No, boys, this is not resolved with a fine. So what do you want? Derek shouted, his arrogance finally crumbling in despair. Revenge. Want to see us stuck? Lito looked at him for a long moment. What I want, he said slowly, is that you understand what actions have consequences. What people different from you are not targets for entertainment. What a disability is not a joke. What racism is not acceptable. And when you choose to attack someone, especially someone you consider weak or vulnerable, it is better to be sure that this person does not have someone with me. He turned to Officer Chen. I want to submit a formal complaint, all possible accusations, and I want their video to be used as evidence. No, Tyler begged. Please, if this becomes public, we will lose our jobs. Our lives will end. Maya, who had been silent all this time, finally said. His voice was firm now without tears. You were willing to ruin my life by views on the internet. Why should I care about yours? What these 3 men didn't know was that Lito Reyes had much more planned than simply calling the police, because during those 3 months of silent monitoring, he had discovered something that would turn that situation of simple aggression into something much, much greater, a web of crimes and connections that, when exposed, would not destroy only 3 lives, but would shake the entire community of Georgetown in a way that no one would ever forget. Officer Chen finished collecting initial testimonials while Derek, Marcus, and Tyler remained sitting in the curb, handcuffed and visibly shaken. The video Tyler had recorded on Maya's cell phone was already being sent as evidence, along with the security camera's images Lito had mentioned. Mr. Reyes, said Chen, closing his tablet, I'll take these 3 to the police station now. You and Maya will need to attend tomorrow to formalize the complaints. Of course, official, we'll be there. Lito helped Maya reorganize her belongings in her backpack. But there is something more you need to know. Chen raised his eyebrows. More? These three are not isolated cases. Lito drew his own cell phone, showing an organized folder with dozens of files. In the last 3 months after Maya mentioned to be observed, I started to investigate. I found a standard. At least 6 other girls, all minors, all of ethnic minorities, all reported harassment or aggression in the same area. Derek tried to protest. This is a lie, he's inventing. Shut up, Chen cut coldly. Continue, Mr. Reyes. I contacted families discreetly. Some were afraid to denounce because they were unknown immigrants. Others simply didn't believe something would be done. Lito passed his finger through the screen, showing photos, dates, locations. But I documenting everything. I talked to witnesses. I reviewed their social networks posts. Tyler paled by recognizing some of the photos. How did you get it? Because you are stupid enough to post publicly, Maya answered for the first time, her firm and cold voice. Grandpa has taught me something important. Arrogant people always leave traces. You can't resist bragging. Marcus began to cry again. We were just kidding. We never really hurt anyone. Never hurt? Lito's voice went up for the first time. Sophia Nguyen, 14, stopped going to school for 2 weeks after you surrounded her and took pictures of her without permission. Keisha Williams, 15, developed panic attacks. Lucia Hernandez had to change route to home because you followed her every day. I didn't know about Sophia, Tyler murmured. I was only with them when... When did you decide that humiliating people was fun? Chen interrupted. Being present makes you accomplice, boy. That's when a second car stopped behind the police car, a black Honda Civic from which a Filipino man came out about 35, carrying a professional camera bag. Ah, this is Miguel, Lito explained. My son-in-law, the cameraman I mentioned. Miguel greeted everyone with a nod and opened the side door of his van, revealing not only a camera, but a complete surveillance setup. I got everything, Lito. Multipangles loss, crystalline audio. It's all in the cloud too. Wait, Derek finally began to understand the depth of the situation. Did you plan this? Was that a trap? Trap? Lito laughed without humor. Boy, you attacked my granddaughter. I just made sure that when you were finally stupid enough to cross the line of physical aggression, everything would be documented perfectly. Maya looked at the 3 men on the floor. Grandpa installed the GPS in my chair 3 months ago. He revised my routes. I identified when you started to appear more often. Contacted other families, mounted a full dossier. And today, Lito continued, when the GPS warning shot showing sudden and prolonged stop, I knew exactly what was happening. I called Officer Chen, I called Miguel, and I came prepared. But you fought against me, Marcus protested, still holding the painful wrist. Isn't this overuse of strength? Proportional defense, Chen answered automatically. You put your hands on him first. The cameras show this clearly. And considering that Mr. Reyes is 72 years old and you have half his age, he showed remarkable containment by not injuring you permanently. Tyler looked at his cell phone, now in an evidence bag. Will you promote that video? The video you were so eager to post? Maya asked. Why? Now are you worried about your reputation? My family, Tyler whispered. My grandmother is Chinese immigrant. If she comes to what I did, maybe you should have thought about it before, Lito said coldly. By the way, Tyler Chen, your last name is Chen. You are a descendant of Asians, and yet you participated in racist harassment against my Philippine granddaughter. This is particularly pathetic. Officer Chen checked something on her radio. The transport car is coming. I'll take them now. Mr. Reyes, I'll need all these digital evidence. I already have everything organized, Miguel replied, delivering a pen drive. Multiple copies timestamped with preserved metadata. I work with documentary production, so I know exactly how to preserve digital evidence. Derek tried one last card. Look, my father has money. Can we make it up somehow? Pay therapy for her, do community work, whatever. Your father, Lito repeated. Mauricio Johnson, regional manager of Amazon, married for 20 years, member of the local church council. I imagine he will be interested in knowing what his son is doing. I can and go, Lito interrupted, just as I will contact Marcus and Tyler's parents, and his employers, and I will make sure each of the families you terrified know that there is finally consequences. Marcus exploded. This will ruin our lives. Well, Maya said simply. The transportation car arrived, and 2 officers began to take the 3 men. Derek turned one last time. Do you think it's better than us? He shouted to Lito. You are just an old immigrant owner of little shop. We have future, You have nothing, Lito interrupted. There was a job that will lose. There was a reputation that will destroy. There was freedom that will be conditioned. And I had ignorance about consequences which has just evaporated. After the car broke, Chen turned to Lito. You know this will become a big case, right? With all this evidence and the other victims, the Justice Department may want to investigate this as a systemic hatred crime. I count on that, Leto answered. These communities need to see that reporting works, that the system can protect them. You planned this for 3 months, Chen observed, with a mix of admiration and concern. That's impressive and a little scary. I learned in Vietnam what preparation is everything. Leto looked at Maya, who finally allowed some tears to fall, not of sadness but of relief. And I learned as a father that there is no limit to what you do to protect your family. Miguel began to dismantle his equipment. Leto, that contact you mentioned on the local news, do you want me to call? Not yet, Leto answered thoughtfully. First, let the legal process start. But yes, I eventually want this story to be told. Other families need to know they can defend themselves. Maya cleaned her face. Grandpa, did you really do it all for me? Not just for you, he replied, kneeling beside her chair. For all the Mayas of this world, for all the girls who need to be afraid to return home from school, for all immigrant families who think they have no voice. But what if they were more dangerous? Maya asked. And if they had weapons or... Why do you think I brought Miguel as a backup? Leto smiled. And why did I call the police before I arrived? ER hero, Maya. I came to make sure justice was done in the right way. Chen closed his report. Mr. Reyes, I can't officially approve vigilantism, but... She paused. I will make sure that the prosecutors see everything you have collected. This can help not only in this case but in possible accusations against these 3 by other incidents. It's all I want, Leto replied. Appropriate justice, not revenge. But as they prepared to leave, Leto discreetly cheered his cell phone. There was a message of an unknown number. Mr. Reyes, I'm an investigative reporter for Seattle Times. I received information about a case involving his granddaughter and a possible standard of hate crimes. Can we talk? Leto smiled slightly. He had not contacted any reporter yet, but it seemed that the story was starting to leak on its own. And when Seattle Times decided to investigate deeply, especially with all the material he had collected on not only these 3 men, but about the community's systematic failure to protect young girls from minorities, well, things were about to get much more interesting. Grandfather, Maya noticed the smile. What it was? Nothing, my granddaughter. Just thinking that sometimes justice is not a unique event. It's a process. He kept the cell phone. And our process is just beginning. What Derek, Marcus, and Tyler didn't know yet, and they would find it very soon, was that those 3 months of Leto preparation had discovered something much larger than just 3 bullies attacking girls on the street. There was a pattern, a network, connections with other incidents, and when all of this came to light, there would be not only 3 lives that would change. It would be an entire community forced to confront uncomfortable truths about who she protected and who she left vulnerable. 3 days after the incident, Derek, Marcus, and Tyler were released under bail, but their lives were already crumbling in ways they could never have predicted. The video Tyler had recorded, the one he planned to post to get views, had leaked, not by the police, not by Litho, but by someone within the system itself. Within 48 hours, it had 3 million views, 250,000 shares, and was being discussed in all local news. 3 men attack Seattle's smaller wheelchair. Shocking video shows racist aggression, said Seattle Times headline on the first page. Derek found out when he arrived at work on Amazon on Thursday morning. His manager was waiting for him at the entrance with 2 security guards and a box containing his personal belongings. Zero tolerance policy, said the manager simply. Amazon does not employ people who attack minors with disabilities. Your contract was terminated for just cause. Good luck finding another job with it in your history. Marcus came home that night to find her bags on the sidewalk. His girlfriend had changed the locks. A note was glued to the door. I saw the video. I never want to see your face again. My brothers agree. If they appear here, they call the police. Tyler faced something even worse. Her Chinese grandmother, the family matriarch she had immigrated in the 1970s, refused to look at him when he tried to visit her at the hospital where he was hospitalized for heart problems. You have embarrassed our family, said Tyler's uncle, blocking the bedroom door. She said she prefers to die without seeing her face again. A Chen attacking another Asian? You're a misfortune for our ancestors. But the real bomb exploded the following Monday. Leto had scheduled a press conference at his own cafeteria, where he had all started, not the earlier of the previous history, but in a Filipino community center in Georgetown. He didn't come alone. Beside him were 6 other girls, aged 13 to 17 years, all of ethnic minorities, all with stories of harassment, persecution, and humiliation caused by the same 3 men in the last 18 months. My name is Leto Reyes, he began, facing a room full of reporters and cameras. And this is Sophia Nguyen, Keisha Williams, Lucia Hernandez, Amara Johnson, Yuki Tanaka and Priya Patel. Each has a story to tell about Derek Johnson, Marcus Williams, and Tyler Chen. One by one, the girls got up and shared their experiences. Sophia, 14, described how the three were followed for 15 minutes after school, taking pictures and making sexual comments. Keisha told how she developed panic attacks after Marcus cornered her in an alley and threatened to show her place. But that's when Miguel, the son-in-law of Lito, began to present the evidence that the true magnitude of the situation proved. For 3 months, explained Miguel, connecting his laptop to the projector, we document a systematic pattern of racial and sexual harassment specifically directed to young minority girls in this neighborhood. The screen showed a detailed map of Georgetown, with red dots marking each incident. There were 23 points. 23 documented incidents, continued Miguel. 12 different victims, all minors, all of non-white origin, and the same 3 perpetrators in all cases. Derek watched that live on his apartment's cell phone, feeling his stomach turning around. How did he get all this? The answer followed the presentation. After my granddaughter mentioned feeling observed, Lito resumed the word, I didn't do only what any protector would do. I did what a war veteran with experience in military intelligence does. The screen has changed, showing screen captures from the 3 men's social networks, deleted but recovered posts, racist comments, photos of other girls taken without permission, conversations into private groups where they boasted to hunt immigrant girls because they are too afraid to report. Do you think that erasing something from the internet means that it disappeared? Lito asked rhetorically. My son-in-law works with digital forensic. Each post, every message, every photo you thought you have deleted, we recovered everything. Tyler felt the blood drain from his face. Those messages, those horrible jokes he had posted in the private group with Derek and Marcus. How did they get access? The answer was simple. Tyler had saved Maya's cell phone in his contacts. When the police returned her cell phone, she had access to the Tyler number. And Miguel, with cool forensic software, had got a court order to access the backups of the cloud of all 3, something that the criminal nature of the acts fully justified. But that's not all, Lito continued, and his voice acquired a tone that made the whole room silence. During my investigation, I discovered something even more disturbing. The screen changed again, showing financial transactions. Derek Johnson received monthly payments from a company called Views for Real, an operation that pays content creators to generate controversial videos for social platforms. The more shocking the content, the greater the payment. The room exploded in shocked murmurs. That's right, Lito confirmed. He was literally being paid to create content humiliating people. Marcus and Tyler were accomplices, but Derek turned racism and cruelty into a business. Derek felt his hands shake. The Views for Real company was illegal, but he had thought it was impossible to track. Like the hell? The federal investigation is already underway, announced official Chen, who was present at the conference. The FBI is investigating Views for Real by incitement of hatred, exploitation of minors, and organized hate crimes. Derek Johnson is cooperating fully. I'm not, Derek shouted to the TV in his empty apartment, but it was a lie. His lawyer had already informed that, given the volume of evidence, the only chance to avoid 15 years in prison was to denounce everyone involved in the operation. Marcus watched from the sofa of the house of a friend who still tolerated him. His cell phone kept vibrating with messages from unknown numbers, threats, curses, people who had seen the video and discovered where he lived. You need to get out of Seattle, man, said the friend. Like tomorrow. This will be ugly. Tyler was worse. His family had officially disinherited him. His name had been removed from all family documents. The small convenience store that his family was running 30 years ago put a poster in the showcase. The Chen family completely condemns Tyler Chen's actions. He doesn't speak for us or represents our values. But the most devastating moment came when Derek's father confronted his son in the apartment 3 days later. Mauricio Johnson, the Amazon regional manager that Derek always quoted as his protection, entered without beating. His face was red with anger and humiliation. Do you know what you did? He shouted. Do you know what you did to this family? Dad, Shut up. Mauricio's voice echoed through the fine walls. Amazon fired me. 30 years of company, Derek. 30 years. Because they cannot have the father of a viral criminal in management position. Your mother is receiving death threats. Your younger brother is being expelled from school because the other parents do not want him to study with the racist's brother. Derek tried to speak, but the words did not come out. I created you better than that, Mauritius continued, and now there were tears in his eyes. I gave you everything, home, car, education, opportunities, and you used it all to become this, a monster who attacks children on the street for money. It was just videos, Dad. Didn't you think what? What were your actions would have consequences? That there were real people being injured? Or you just didn't care because they were you like you? The silence that followed was broken only by Derek's sobs. That old Philippine, Mauricio said calmly now. He did in 3 months what I have failed to do in 24 years. He taught you what actions have consequences, that you are not untouchable, that people you belittle may be stronger, smarter, and more prepared than you will ever be. He turned to leave but stopped at the door. The trial is in 6 weeks. Your lawyer says you'll get 3 to 5 years old. Your mother and I won't be there. Good luck, Derek. You'll need it. The door closed and Derek collapsed on the floor of his empty apartment. Meanwhile, at the Reyes house, Maya had had dinner with her family. The table was full. His grandparents, his parents, Miguel and his wife, and 3 of the girls who had witnessed at the conference with their families. Grandpa? Maya asked, serving rice. Did you really plan it all from the beginning? Lito smiled, that wise smile that came from decades of life. Not exactly, my granddaughter. I only prepared for all the possibilities. When you said I was feeling observed, I didn't ignore. When I installed GPS, it wasn't a paranoia. It was a caution. And when they finally crossed the line, I was ready. But how did you know they would cross the line? Sophia asked. Because arrogant people always cross, Lito replied. They had been naughty so many times that they believed it was invincible. Impunity feeds arrogance, and the arrogance eventually leads to fatal error. Miguel raised his glass. A toast to the man who turned 3 months of silent preparation into the most spectacular fall Seattle has ever seen. Everyone toasted, but Lito shook their head. It wasn't about revenge, he said seriously. It was about justice. It was about ensuring that other girls did not suffer what Maya suffered. It was about showing this community that silence is not acceptance, and that announcement in the face of injustice is complicity. Across the city in 3 different places, 3 men faced the full weight of their choices, not knowing that the worst was yet to come, because when the judgment began, Lito's full dossier would be presented, and each message deleted, each hidden video, each silenced victim would finally have voice. 6 months after the trial, Seattle had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Derek Johnson was a 4-year sentence in a state arrest. His first week inside was particularly educational when he found that, ironically, most detainees were ethnic minorities, exactly the people he had spent years humiliating online for money. Hey, Derek, called a Philippine detainee during the cafeteria lunch. I saw your video. Everyone here saw. You're a little famous, you know. Derek kept his head down, eating in silence. Fame was the last thing he wanted now. Marcus Williams had fled Seattle 3 weeks after the trial, but the internet never forgets. His face was on dozens of naming and shaming websites, platforms dedicated to exposing racists and aggressors. He got a job in a small town at Oregon using fake name, but lasted only 2 days before someone recognized him and posting in the local community group. It was fired before the end of the week. Tyler Chen had tried to rebuild bridges with his family, but the damage was irreparable. His grandmother passed away without ever accepting to see him again. In the funeral, his own uncles reported that he was not welcome. You brought shame to the name Chen, said one of them simply. In our culture, this has no forgiveness. But while 3 lives collapsed under the weight of their own choices, others flourished in extraordinary ways. Maya Reyes has become a national symbol of resilience and activism. Her story had been told in all the top news, but what really changed everything was when she decided to use her unexpected platform for something bigger. I founded the Invisible Voices Project, Maya explained in an interview with CNN 6 months after the incident. An organization that connects young minorities with legal, psychological, and community resources when they face harassment or discrimination. The reporter leaned, interested. And how did this idea come about? My grandfather taught me something fundamental, Maya answered, her firm and clear voice. He said that purposeless anger is just destruction, but channeled anger for real change is revolution. So I decided that my anger would become a revolution. The Invisible Voices project grew exponentially. In 6 months, he had already helped 247 girls in 15 different states. Lawyers volunteered, therapists offered free sessions, and most importantly, other victims finally found courage to denounce their aggressors. Lito Reyes had become involuntarily a public figure as well. Invitations to lectures arrived weekly. Universities wanted him to talk about community protection and immigrant empowerment. Martial arts academies searched him for personal defense workshops for the elderly. I'm not a hero, he said in a lecture at the University of Washington for a 500-person audience. I'm just a grandfather who refused to accept that your granddaughter was a victim of injustice without consequences. Any one of you would have done the same. But you planned everything for 3 months. Someone from the audience shouted. This is not just protection, it's military strategy. Lito smiled. Do you know what is the difference between reacting and preparing? Reaction is emotional and often ineffective. Preparation is intelligence applied with patience. I did not attack those men. I simply guaranteed that when they attacked, the consequences would be inevitable and fair. The cafeteria where it all had started, no, it wasn't a snack bar. It was a street in Georgetown, and that street now had an unofficial name in the community. Rua da Justice Delito, the exact corner where Maya had been overthrown. Her chair became a meeting place for community activists. Someone had painted a mural on the wall of the abandoned building, showing a flip-down girl in a wheelchair, but not as a victim. She was painted with wings, lifting over 3 dark figures falling below her. Sophia, Keisha, Lucia, and the other girls who had witnessed at the press conference also found their voices. They had all joined the Invisible Voices, some as volunteers, others sharing their stories in schools and community events. Do you know what is crazy? Sophia said at a project meeting. We were so afraid before. Fear of denouncing, fear of not being believed, fear that nothing would change. But now we have an entire community behind us. But not everything was celebration. On a rainy October morning, Maya received a letter. He had no sender, just a postal seal from a small town in Oregon. Dear Maya, the written letter began. My name is Marcus Williams. You have no reason to read this and certainly no reason to believe anything I say, but I need to try. Maya almost ripped the letter right there, but something made her keep reading. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. What I did with you and the other girls was despicable, cruel, and unforgivable. I carry it every day. I lost my family, my job, my city, but honestly, I deserved it all. The letter continued for 2 pages. Marcus described how mandatory therapy had begun after the trial. As for the first time in life, he was being forced to confront his own racism, his misogyny, his casual cruelty disguised as humor. Your grandfather taught me something that day, Marcus wrote. He taught me what actions have real consequences, that the people I saw as easy targets had families, stories, strength I could never imagine. He could have hurt me seriously when he knocked me, but he didn't. He gave me the pain necessary to learn without destroying my body, just my ego. The letter simply ended. You don't have to answer. I just wanted you to know that the person who attacked you that day is dead, not physically, but in every other senses, and in his place is someone desperately trying to be better. Thanks for forcing me to change, Marcus. Maya put the letter in a drawer without responding. Maybe one day I would answer, maybe not. It was not your responsibility to validate his transformation. Lido, when he learned of the letter, simply shook his head. Some people learn, others just pretend to learn to relieve guilt. Time will say which Marcus is. A year after the incident, the Reyes family organized a celebration at the Philippine Community Center. It was not exactly to celebrate the event. No one celebrates being attacked, but to mark the anniversary of the Invisible Voices project and everything that had been built from that pain. Do you know what is funny? Maya said to the microphone, looking at the 200 people present, victims, family, activists, allies. Derek, Marcus, and Tyler thought they were breaking me that day. They thought they took pictures of the Asian wheelchair would give views and likes. Laughs traveled the audience. They gave me a platform. They gave me purpose. They showed me exactly what I needed to fight. She paused. So, in some way, I should thank you? No, not absolutely. But I can recognize that I turned the worst day of my catalyst to help hundreds of other girls. Lido watched from the bottom of the room, his teary eyes. That girl he had adopted when she was only 4 years old, paralyzed and scared after a devastating accident, was now more strong than he could never be. My grandfather taught me 3 things, Maya continued. First, never underestimate people based on appearance. Second, patience and preparation always overcome impulsivity and arrogance. And third, she looked straight at Lito. That true love is not just protecting those we love from storms. It is teaching them to dance in the rain and, when necessary, ensure that thunder always have consequences. The room exploded in applause. That night, as they kept their chairs and cleaned the community center, Miguel approached Lido. You created a movement, Lido. You know that, right? Lido shook his head. I didn't create anything. I just refused to accept injustice. It was Maya who built something real from that. But you taught her that you could, Miguel insisted. You have shown that a 72-year-old man can bring down 3 bullies without hurting anyone seriously. That 3 months of intelligent preparation is worth more than years of brute strength. What justice need not be revenge, but definitely needs to have teeth. Lido smiled. Do you know what the secret is, Miguel? I was not just preparing evidence against those 3 boys. I was preparing Maya. Each time I installed a security system, each time I reviewed routes, each time I documenting standards, I was showing her that real protection is not just reacting. 2 years later, Derek was released after fulfilling 2/3 of his sentence for good behavior. He left prison to find out that the world had forgotten him, or worse, remembered only as the racist of the viral video. He tried to change his name legally, but the internet had already filed all the versions of his identity. He tried to start over in another state, but criminal records for hate crime are difficult to hide in job checks. Marcus still lived in small towns, moving every few months when someone recognized him. His letter to Maya has never been answered, and he had learned to accept this as part of his permanent consequences. Tyler eventually got a job at a night deposit where no one called her past. He lived alone, without family, without friends, with no future beyond surviving. The name Chen, who once represented 4 generations of hard work and immigrant dignity, now carried the stain of his choices. Meanwhile, Maya had graduated in high school with honors and received full scholarship to the University of Washington, where she would study civil law with a focus on social justice. The Invisible Voices project now operated in 23 states and had helped over 1,500 girls. "What is your advice?" a reporter asked Maya during an interview in his second year of college. "For other young girls facing discrimination or harassment?" Maya thought for a moment. "Document everything, find allies, never accept that cruelty is just joke, and remember, people who underestimate you are giving you the biggest possible advantage, the surprise element." "And revenge?" the reporter provoked. "Would you say that you took revenge on those men?" "Revenge?" Maya smiled. "No, I didn't get revenge. I simply assured that actions had appropriate consequences. They took revenge on themselves at the moment they chose to attack someone who had a grandfather who refused to accept injustice." In the audience of that live interview, sitting in the last row wearing cap and sunglasses, Derek watched in silence. He had taken courage to return to Seattle. He had taken even more courage to enter that auditorium. When the interview ended and people started out, he approached Maya, who talked to students. "Maya," he said softly. She turned, recognizing him immediately. His face showed no anger, no fear, just an undisturbed calm. "Derek, I needed to see what you became after what I did. And what do you see?" "Someone who turned pain into power," he answered honestly. "Someone infinitely stronger than I will ever be." Maya studied him for a long moment. "Do you want me to say I forgive you?" "No." Derek shook his head. "I know I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that every day in prison, every look of contempt, every closed door, everything was deserved. And yet, it's not enough to erase what I did." "You're right," Maya said simply. "It's not enough, but knowing this is more than you showed that day." She paused. "Want to do something that really matters?" Derek looked up, surprised. The Invisible Voices project is developing a program where former agents talk about schools about the real consequences of their actions. Not to redeem themselves, but to prevent others make the same mistakes. "Interested?" Derek swallowed dry, repeated publicly, as an example of what not to be. It was humiliating, painful, exactly what he meretzia. "Yes," he replied. "When do I start?" Maya delivered a card. "Call this number. And Derek, don't do that thinking it's going to acquit you. Do it because it's the right thing. That's the difference." While Derek left the auditorium, Lito emerged next to Maya. "Are you sure of that, my granddaughter?" "Grandpa, you taught me that justice is not just punishing. It is also giving people the chance to do better, not to themselves but to others." Lito smiled proudly. "When did you get wiser than me?" "The day you showed me that a 72-year-old man could knock 3 bullies with just 1 stick and 50 years of preparation," she replied, smiling. 52, he corrected. "Always add a few years. It makes you look more impressive." They laughed together as they left the auditorium. 3 years after that rainy day in Georgetown, the story of Maya Reyes and Lito Reyes was taught in university courses of social justice as an example of how marginalized communities can protect themselves through preparation, documentation, and intelligent action. The original video, the one Tyler had recorded to win likes, still circulated online, but now it was always accompanied by the full story, how 3 arrogant men tried to humiliate a wheelchair-bound girl and ended up triggering a national movement to protect victims of hatred crimes. And every time someone shared that video, he came with a caption that became viral on his own. "Before you belittle someone, remember, you have no idea who is protecting this person, and more importantly, you have no idea of the strength that this person carries silently, waiting for the right time to prove that underestimating it was the greatest mistake of your life." The best revenge, Maya learned, was never destroying who hurt you. It was to build something so powerful, so transformative, so significant from pain that when their aggressors looked back years later, they would realize that the worst punishment was not what you did to them. That's what they lost a chance to become: cruelty rather than humanity. And Derek, Marcus, and Tyler woke up every day with this perception burning in their consciences. They were not destroyed by a 16-year-old wheelchair girl. were destroyed by their own choices. Maya and Lito just ensured that these choices had the consequences they always deserved. If this story has impacted you, if you believe that smart justice is worth more than impulsive revenge, subscribe to the channel now. Because as long as there are people willing to document, prepare, and react in the right way, there will always be hope that cruelty has a period of validity, but dignity is eternal.